Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Welcome to the SANE Show, lovely listeners. This is Carrie Brown, and Mr. Jonathan Baylor is here with me in the studio, which is now reached a temperature of 3 million degrees.
3 million. It's a Dr. Evil level of heat in here. 3 million degrees. And it's only going to get hotter.
Maybe that's a little exaggeration. But only a little.
It's only going to get hotter, Carrie. Because you know what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
The hottest meal of the day.
Yes.
We talked about breakfast. We talked about lunch. And really, in those podcasts, we did talk about the actual meals themselves. But we went off topic a little bit, but I think it's still helpful. Today, we're going to talk about dinner.
Yum.
Boom. Dinner. Big meal, fabulous meal, lots to do, family dinners, all kinds of different directions to take this. What are your thoughts about SANE dinners, Carrie?
Easy.
Easy, all right.
That's not going to be a popular answer, I know, because a lot of people, especially people that are new to SANE, are rightfully so completely phased when it comes to I can't eat lasagna, or I can't eat pizza, or I can't eat burgers. All these things I'm used to eating, my normal go-to meals have just gone. What do I do?
I think the biggest challenge we face as a culture when it comes to dinner is that we have completely lost any sort of culinary education. Right. And translating that, it was probably didn't need to make it sound that complicated. No one knows how to cook anymore. Right. I mean, people who are children today, first of all, they don't even know what a vegetable is. So that's the second point. But you actually have to cook. I mean, dinner is exceptionally easy if you know how to use a stove and or an oven. But a lot of us were never taught how to use a stove or an oven.
Or a grill.
Or a grill, exactly. And so if you know how to use those things, dinner becomes very easy very quickly. And maybe we can sort of break down by cooking device easy ways to prepare dinner. But I do want to acknowledge that if you don't know how to cook, please don't let that, you can't. Plenty of people cook. All of those people aren't smarter or more capable than you. You can cook too. This idea that I'm a tech geek guy, right? I am. So people used to say, when people would say to me, and my parents have gotten a lot better at this, my mom is just a tech expert now. She's out in front of, I think she's in her mid to late 60s now, and she's doing all kinds of fun tech stuff. But she used to say oh, Jonathan, I just don't get technology. And I was like, Mom, that's a little bit like saying I don't get the telephone or I don't get cars. You can't not get technology. You just, it's not an option. How are you going to function in today's society if you don't get technology? But a lot of people say, I don't get cooking. I don't know how to cook. Well, you can cook. So there's a bunch of great books. There's a bunch of great online resources. And the good news is you don't need to be a chef. You just need to have a basic understanding in the kitchen. And
if you need somewhere to start, I do develop my recipes for the least of the cooks. I try to write them and make them so that anybody can have success and get a delicious meal at the end of it without having gone to culinary school.
And there is a level of Carrie's a chef. She knows how to cook. And what Kerry does is an art form. There's also, for people who've listened to the show for a while, that there's this other thing we talk about called assembly, which is what I do. I never was taught how to cook. I don't know how to cook. When I quote unquote cook, it's laughable. But if you understand the basic principles of stoves and ovens and grills and flavors, you can use a more formulaic approach to cooking, or you can follow a recipe and you can get exceptional results. And I think when you give yourself permission to, one, realize there's two paths you can take. One is you can follow a recipe. If you're following a recipe, you are following a set of exact instructions, which if you listen to them, you will get a good result. And if you're not following a recipe, it's because you're doing something that is called assembly, which is so radically simple that it's very difficult to screw up. So in both cases, you've either got step-by-step instructions or you're doing something that's so simple that it doesn't need instructions. It's like making cereal. Cereal is the perfect example of assembling. You take cereal and you assemble it with milk. Don't do that. You'll get diabetes and become obese, but it's assembly. So you can do it. First of all, so I just want to help people understand that you can do it. Other people have done it. People have done it for generations. You can do it too.
I think there's a lot of power in just taking away the mindset that I can't cook.
Exactly. And I think the reason people have, so one, they just say, I can't cook. Just like, I don't do technology. Right. And I saw that you're making a face when I was saying that earlier. And I just like my mom has a master's degree. She's brilliant. She probably has an IQ of like whatever. I don't know. She's a genius. So when she says to me, I don't get email, I'm like, Mom, with respect, I don't buy that. You're a genius. If you want to get email, you can get email. So I think people sometimes don't give themselves enough credit, right? Like look at everyone else in the world that does it. Unless you think all of those people are better than you, which I know you don't, you can do it too.
Yeah, I don't get TVs, but I don't care. I don't care.
But that's the thing. The reason you don't get TVs is because you don't care. And if you cared, if I said to you, Kerry, you can't get TVs. I bet you can't. I'll bet you $100 you can't get televisions. You'd be like, you'd come in the next day and be like, I programmed the TV and I set up my TiVo and I got it all. I'll show you, but you just don't care, right? So if you listen to the show, you care about this so you can cook. And once you understand that, you will be empowered. The other thing, and this is so critical because one, if I didn't think I could cook, you stop before you even start. The other thing is if I had to cook a unique meal one at a time, every single time I was going to eat,
your head would explode.
I wouldn't do it. And I think we talked in previous episodes about like rules and blah, blah, blah. If you believe that you have to cook something different every single night and that's it. So you need to prepare 7 unique dinners every single week. Good luck. Like that is there are very few people I know, unless their full-time job involves doing that are able to do that. So cooking in bulk is so, so, so important because if you think, just like eating less and exercising more, the reason I get so upset about this eating less and exercising more dogma is personally, if I had to be hungry and spend 2 hours per day doing cardio, I should be diabetic and weigh 400 pounds because I can't do that. And I don't think anyone else can either, reasonably. And so I would just be like, forget this. I'm not even going to worry about my health. It's a lost cause. And if I thought that eating a healthy dinner required having a culinary degree and shopping for and then preparing 7 unique meals per week, I'd say forget it. I'll just order pizza. So I think giving people permission to let go of those beliefs is really, really empowering. And now we can replace those limiting beliefs with simplifying beliefs that are more assembly and simplicity oriented. What do you think about that?
However.
Oh, good. See, I screwed it all up with the whole technology thing. Kerry's like, you work at Microsoft, you get technology.
However, there are a significant number of people who love to cook and like to create new things. And if you can create a new thing every night, you go for it. Don't listen to him.
So let me clarify for anyone, I'm
standing up for the cooks in the world.
For Kerry. So if you're a cook, first of all, you're awesome because I envy you. If your hobby is cooking, then this is a non-issue because you enjoy it. Right. So there are people who, and like some people's hobby is exercise. For them, clearly it's like, so you don't exercise? I don't understand that. Well, okay. Not everyone has the hobby of exercising. People are like, Jonathan, science, that is, for me, it's enjoyable, right? It's a hobby for me. I think it's cool. So
And thank goodness you are, because there's no way the rest of us would have spent 12 years reading all that literature, let me tell you.
Well, yes. And frankly, Kerry, if I could afford to have you cook all of my meals for me and 7 unique meals per week, I certainly would not turn that down.
Hey, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
If I could afford you. Kerry is not cheap. So the key thing here is if you don't enjoy cooking, you can solve this problem very, very simply. And this is going to start to sound redundant, but that's because it's simple. And I'm going to keep saying this because I think we need to keep hearing it, because as soon as you stop listening to the show, all you're going to hear is complex nonsense. It's simple. Non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low fructose fruits. Okay, here's how you do that for dinner. So first of all, let's how are we on time? Okay, because I'm about to go on a little rampage here. Strap yourself in. If you're in your car, make sure your seatbelt's on. So there's this, people talk about, there's not enough variety. Not enough variety. Okay. The standard American diet, you want to talk about, okay, I'm getting amped. It's coming. Brace yourself. You want to talk about a lack of variety? The standard American diet has a lack of variety. A cycle of soda, cereal, pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers, and French fries on a loop has no variety, with like candy bars thrown in. There's no variety there. Some people talk about it doesn't have enough variety. You have an infinite amount of variety with sane eating. First of all, there's probably dozens of vegetables at your local grocery store that you've never even tried. And then Kerry has all sorts. She's introduced me to leeks and eggplants and friggin' Brussels sprouts. I've never had Brussels sprouts before. And you can learn all these different ways to cook them. It's fabulous. So you got your non-starchy vegetables. You've got a nutrient-dense protein. Most people, fish, maybe they've had salmon, and maybe they've had some sort of white fish. There's a bunch of different, mussels, clams. I almost said asparagus. That's not a seafood. What I was trying to think of was like squid or octopus, and that made me think of asparagus. And all these different types of seafood. And then you have all these different types of meats. You've got beef, you've got pork, you've got chicken, you've got other more exotic, in this country at least, types of meats such as lamb. If you've never had lamb before, lamb is the bomb. I love lamb. And then you're doing things with avocados that you never thought were possible. Kerry puts them in smoothies, which are amazing. I mean, some people see sane eating and they think it lacks variety. The opposite is true. Sane eating is taking the most nutritious, delicious, and flavorful food groups in the world and providing you, it's like a palette. You've got these 4 things, and you can, within those 4 food groups, there's myriad options, which literally have an infinite combination. What is boring is starches and sweets. Sugar tastes like sugar, and starch tastes like starch, right? Like bread, rice, pasta. Bread, rice, pasta. Bread, rice, pasta. Bread, rice, pasta.
Don't forget potatoes.
And potatoes. Bread, rice, pasta, potato. Bread, rice, pasta, potato. Bread, rice, pasta, potato. Not exciting. So what are some of your go-to dinner options that do this assembler approach? I mean, you've obviously nailed soups, but what else?
The easiest thing, and particularly for Americans that just grill, and I think Australians do too, just grill. Husbands are really good at grilling, or boys are really good at grilling, not husbands. Men love to grill. Send them out with some steak, some pork chops. You can
get them out of the house.
That's some salmon. They're out in the yard. You don't have to deal with them. Lamb chops. Whatever. Grill for 10 minutes. You're inside 10 minutes. Learn how to make, and I have some lovely combinations on my website. Learn how to make some favorite salads with vegetable combinations. 10-minute dinner. Absolutely 100% sane. You've got your grilled protein. You've got your fresh salad. Boom. It's easy. It's simple, and you can change it up every single night. If you're one of those people who wants variety, you can change it up every night. 10 minutes. That's it. Grill recommendation is a brilliant one. I'll tack onto the grill recommendation let's call it either crock pot / casserole / meal in a dish. So this is a meal in a dish, something that I love just because I like to eat out of a big bowl, and I like to have just one bowl, and I'm just going to eat what's in that bowl. So an example of this
is so right now, for example, this is an insane example, but spaghetti with meatballs is meal in a dish. Right. It's like you could have a vat of it. So a meal in a dish, you could just have a giant container of it, and then you just scoop it out, you put it on your plate, and you're done. So casseroles, slow cookers, things like this, I think especially for families or for non-families who don't mind eating the same stuff frequently, coming up with meals in a dish is extremely empowering, and it is so ridiculously easy. Here's the formula I use. Pick a vegetable. Okay, so let's take an example of Brussels sprouts. So Brussels sprouts, I recently discovered that if you cook them, not all the way, and then you put them in a food processor and like rice them a little bit and season them. Okay, so that's your base of non-starchy vegetables. Then you can add salmon. I mean, anything. You just do a little bit of fun experimentation. So I found that there's this stuff called like Chef Paul something seafood magic seasoning, which is just amazing. So I just take that, make my Brussels sprouts, chop them up, put them in a pan, take my salmon, put it in there, throw some seasoning in there, make as much of it as I want, and have 6 meals done, meal in a dish. Throw some healthy fats in there. You can do the same kind of thing with a marinara sauce. So you've got a marinara sauce, you've got a ground meat of some sort, and then you throw in some mushrooms, you throw in some zoodles, you throw in some cooked spinach. You'd be surprised how good cooked spinach or cooked kale is in these types of things. And again, meal in a dish. You got your figure out ways. So get a crock pot, get some vegetables in there, some of the more, maybe a cauliflower type vegetable, maybe a carrot type vegetable. Throw them in the crock pot with a roast. Meal in a dish, done. I really want to tip my hat to the paleo community here because there are dozens. I don't know. It's the most searched for lifestyle on Google. There is so much that you can do with these basic food groups. And if you're ever at a loss, I think that the paleo community has done such an excellent job of showing the countless ways that you can use non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, and whole food fats, plus seasonings and SANE sauces to literally just meal in a dish. I just think it's brilliant. And casseroles, bakes. I know you've got some awesome bakes like SANE lasagna, which is super easy to make and you can make it in bulk. Can you tell us about that? SANE lasagna?
There's no pasta. I used eggplant.
But that's how cool is that, right? So you literally said, no one taught you how to do that, right? Kerry, you just said, okay, here's something I like to cook. What does it have in it that's insane? What could I substitute in for that that's sane?
Right.
Think about how empowering that mindset is because like you embodied that and there was no recipe for SANE lasagna before you invented it, but you can do it, right? Because you understand this concept. Right. So let's say that you really like beef stroganoff, right? Like you did the same thing with beef stroganoff. You found a sane way to make beef stroganoff. So really just focus on take the flavors you already know and love and figure out how to use your 4 SANE food groups to apply them in bulk, freeze them, Tupperware them, cook them in mass quantities. Don't be afraid of your freezer. And I really think that dinner can become quite simple and certainly very satisfying.
And you alluded to it earlier, but if you really, especially during the week, if you have no time, one of the best ways to be sane at dinner time is with my soups. In my book, Eat Smarter Soups, there's a whole bunch of recipes that actually have the protein already in them, or you can take any of the vegetable ones and add proteins, and there's a page which gives you suggestions about what protein to add. You can make those in bulk and freeze them. Yeah, I don't mind eating the same thing for 4 nights. And because I'm single, I often end up eating the same thing for 4 nights in a row. I don't care. It's delicious, so I don't care. But if that's not you, or if your family are demanding that you have something different every night, soups are brilliant because you can make them in bulk, you can freeze them, and then you've got this instant supply of soups for lunch or dinner. Actually, you can use them for both.
And that really, I think the biggest challenge we face if you're getting home late, you've had a big, busy day, if you've got another project in front of you, if that's what it is, if it's another project, just another thing you've got to do, you got to think about what's for dinner, and you're not really super thrilled about cooking and you don't really know what you're doing, it's not going to happen. So really just taking that time. I know in earlier podcasts, we talk about trading time in the gym for time in the kitchen. I can't tell you how much that's the assignment for this week. The assignment for this week, the action item for this week, the empowering step that our listeners can do for this week is set aside some time on the least busy day of the week for you. For most people, that's either Saturday or Sunday. Set aside 1 or 2 hours to bulk prepare non-starchy vegetables and nutrient-dense protein, because the whole food fats are easy. That's usually your sauce. You can usually eat some nuts on the side or one of Kerry's SANE desserts. So you really don't need to go out of your way to do that. But on a Saturday or Sunday or whenever you're least busy, bulk prepare. And what I mean by bulk prepare is just put it in a state where if you're stressed out of your mind and short on time, you can grab it out of the fridge, and the most work you would have to do is to either put it in the microwave, put it on top of the stove, or put it in the oven. That's it. Like, it needs to be one step away. It's like a frozen pizza, but not terrible for you, right? Frozen pizza is it's unwrap, put in the oven, eat.
Right.
When we say bulk prep food, we literally mean get it into the state so that on your worst day, where you're most stressed and most tired, you will still have enough energy to put it together and to look forward to the delicious home-cooked meal you just made. But it was almost like cake mix, right? Like instant cake mix. Put the cake, put an egg, mix it up, you've got cake. You can do that with SANE foods, but you've got to invest that 1 to 2 hours to do that bulk preparation. But just do it. I'm telling you, like that's the secret. You see these fitness models out there that are just like ripped up. They carry around bags of Tupperware containers. Like that's the way people who do this for a living. It's about bulk cooking. It's about pre-prep, and it's about assembling those components. Again, if you're a chef and you like cooking, it's easy for you. But for everyone else, please, 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 this week, your assignment, 1 to 2 hours on your least busy day of the week, bulk prep veggies, bulk prep protein, so that when you're ready to eat them, it's 1, 2, 3, done, ready, you're eating, you're sane, you're happy, you're good to go.
And if you're eating out, dinner is a lot easier than lunch, because for the most part, there will be a whole stack of dishes on the menu where you can just say, hold the starch, double the veggies, or Absolutely. Hold the starch and add a salad to the veggies. So dinner is super easy. It's the easiest meal to eat out and stay sane without raising any eyebrows.
Kerry's exactly right. The only time on the eating out that it's really a challenge to be sane is when you go to lower quality places, right? I mean, if you go to a In-N-Out burger or, Fat Burger or one of these kind of places, like where all they serve is fatty nonsense, starch sandwich, trans fat, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a little bit hard to go sane there. But if you go to like an Olive Garden or a TGI Fridays, I mean, anything like Kerry is calling more of a dinner type eatery, hold the starch, double the veggies, like done. Like literally 90% of the restaurants you could go to, 90% of the menu, hold the starch, double the veggies, done. No need to add any more complexity beyond that. Simple.
And I have never, and of course I do this breakfast adventure now, and I have never had a restaurant not help me, ever. I've never had to walk out because there wasn't anything sane I could eat.
And one last tip for eating out, which I've noticed is, and this is not, so be conscious when you're doing this, because it's a little bit of a white lie. But if you ever want to be sure that something is not served to you, giving a medical reason is helpful. So for example, you want to be careful with this because it does cause the restaurant to go above and beyond for you. So maybe don't say allergy, maybe say intolerance. Because for example, if you were to tell a restaurant, I have a peanut allergy, they do all kinds of crazy stuff to ensure that no peanuts get anywhere close to your food. But if, for example, you were to say, I'm lactose intolerant, So instead of saying, hey, can you make sure there's no dairy in this? There's a chance that there might not be dairy in it, but they might just be like, whatever. If you say, I'm lactose intolerant, can you make sure there's no dairy in this? There's a much better chance that you'll get what you want. Or the good news is that it's really not being, if you use the term intolerant, there's no disingenuity going on here, because I would argue we're all intolerant to sugar and starch and trans fats, as evidenced by the fact that if you eat them, you die prematurely.
I just say, with a smile and with confidence, I don't eat. You know, if they question me, if they and ah, I go, I don't eat whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I don't eat potatoes. Can you throw together a green salad?
Yep.
Works every time.
Just for me, like sometimes it gets, and I'm a little bit more hardcore than you sometimes. So for example, I go to a restaurant, I say, what kind of oil is this prepared in? If they say vegetable oil, I will say something like, oh man, I get a terrible stomach ache if I eat vegetable oil. Do you have olive oil? Do you have do you have any other kinds of oils? I just find that if you give a medical reason, and it's true, if I eat vegetable oil, I often do get stomach aches, that they're so much more likely to take you seriously because they don't want to hurt you. Like if they just think you're being weird or an elitist or that you're better than them in some way, they're going to be a little bit resistant. But if you can give a medical reason, which again, with 1 out of every 4 Americans being diabetic or pre-diabetic saying I'm pre-diabetic, you might not, you might be. So, I think there's all kinds of ways where we can ensure that when we go out to eat, we hold the starch, we double the vegetables, we keep it really simple when we're at home, and then we enjoy a savory, sane dinner simply. Maybe
the reason I don't have to do that is because you are not blonde and you don't have a British accent.
Are you saying I'm much less charming? When Kerry gets pulled up for speeding, she's like, oh, I'm terribly sorry, officer. I was, and then she flutters her eyes and she's like, oh.
And they magically disappear.
Whereas if I got pulled over for speeding and I fluttered my eyes, I don't think the same thing would happen.
You'd be in jail.
I love it, Kerry. Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful conversation as much as Kerry and I did. Remember, your action item for this week, your empowering step, is to, on your least busy day of the week, take an hour or two, listen to some music that you love, do it with a friend, do it with a family member that you enjoy spending time with, make it a fun event, spend an hour or two bulk preparing your non-starchy vegetables, your nutrient-dense protein, and remember, this week and every week after, stay sane.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at kerrybrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at baylorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.